Hello and welcome to GameTales. Destiny, the Fallen. Listen long enough and you will hear stories of great Elixir heroes when the great machine was still with us. The Fallen, known in their own language as the Elixir, are an insectoid alien species infamous for being notorious scavengers and raiders. The Fallen are remnants of a mighty civilization that had been flourishing under the Traveler's grace until an apocalyptic event called the Whirlwind, much akin to humanity's golden age and collapse. The Traveler fled, leaving the survivors behind, but after many centuries, the Fallen found her once again in the solar system. Seeking to reclaim their glory, the Elixir decided to explore the newly discovered solar system and start a new war against humanity in an attempt to retake control of the great machine. Roving Fallen bands scavenge whatever technology and weapons they can find and rally under the banners of various warring houses and crime syndicates. The stories say the Fallen were once a proud people, great in their own way. We've only known them as pirates and butchers. The Fallen are a nomadic race of pirates and scavengers descended from a once great civilization. This is evidenced by their social organization into various houses, by the manner of meritocratic nobility, the banners and flags of which are still flown like heraldry. The Fallen search the stars for artifacts of their lost civilization. They first arrived in the solar system after the collapse, arriving in their massive catches to loot and pillage humanity's former worlds, leaving grief and wreckage in their wake. The Fallen are antagonistic toward the Cabal, Taken, Hive, and Vex, and are known to be in conflict with the latter two over territory and technology. They have ordinarily avoided the Cabal until the Taken War, when the House of Wolves attempted to make their new home on Mars using abandoned Cabal bases. They lack any type of established stronghold, such as the Citadel or the Hellmouth, instead preferring to squat in ruins or inside their catches, going from place to place in search of a potential home. History of the Fallen. Where is the great machine? Where is the great machine? The Fallen's name for their own race is Elixir. They were once graced by the Traveler, which they named the Great Machine, and were presumably uplifted by its gifts in the same manner as humanity. Their ubiquitous cloaking technology was originally designed as toys for children. The Elixir made during their golden age twice the advancement in space exploration than humanity. During this time, they came to control multiple star systems until an event known as the Age Wars brought infighting among the houses, and later ended by the House of Kings and House of Judgment to usher a golden age. The homeworld of Reef and civilization would be destroyed by an unforeseen event called the Whirlwind. In the aftermath, the surviving fallen became embroiled in a bloody civil war over their civilization's ruins, before achieving a tenuous peace and embarking on a journey into space to locate the traveller in order to return to greatness. The fallen eventually arrived at the solar system shortly after humanity's collapse, and rediscovered the traveller on Earth. The fallen cannot be stopped. They do not negotiate. Their bargains are lies. I've watched them burn and pillage whole villages in the Cosmodrome. I've watched dregs eat children. When the fallen arrived in the Sol system, they terrorized humanity, conducting raids and attacks against their outposts. Very early into these attacks, they started to meet opposition in the form of guardians who fought back against them time and time again. The fallen grew to resent the guardians, seeing them as an obstacle that prevented them from claiming the great machine, and believed they were dooming them and their people. Eventually, the space below the traveller turned into the city, as more and more people gathered below the traveller, and thus walls were built to defend them. As time wore on, the fallen began to understand that if they wanted to take back what was theirs, they would need to do it with force. This was the start of the Elixni siege. At some point during the Dark Age, the House of Rain encountered a human settlement protected by Saint 14 on Mercury, and proceeded to destroy the settlement and kill the survivors, but were unable to kill Saint 14, who grew to hate the fallen race after he witnessed dregs devouring children. Rezel Azir began venturing out from the last city to combat potential threats, which earned him great enmity from the fallen. Eventually, a captain of the House of Devils named Exori ambushed Rezel in an attempt to kill him to gain glory. However, he was easily able to fend off the ambush. Later, he teamed up with two other guardians to kill a Kel, whose catch was stationed in the Tescan Valley between two mountain peaks. Whirlwind wished us to this war-weary world. We galloped the galaxy to grasp the great machine. It is not our fate to fail on this field. In an attempt to take the traveller, the House of Devils staged a coordinated attack on the city in a battle that would later be called 6 fronts. During the battle, 4 orders of Titans protected the newly constructed walls of the city against 6 enemy approaches, and not a single front faltered. The Devils faced off against many Guardians who would later become legends, such as Saint 14, Osiris, Zavala, and the Iron Lords. After the Battle of 6 Fronts, Saint 14 stepped down from Vanguard commander to pursue his crusade against the Fallen, and nominated Osiris to take his place to protect the city from future assaults. Osiris questions Saint's motives, having seen the Fallen not too different from them. However, Saint disagreed after fighting representatives from every house and believed it was a joint effort to exterminate them. At some point, Saint 14 encountered the noble Secris, Baron of Shanks, whose house settled by the edge of the system to avoid human conflict. Secris recollected Saint's sieges of Boyle Pass and weapons of rain, but questioned if the great machine still communed with him. Saint answered with silence and spurred Secris, causing him to desert his race. Following the murder of several Guardians at the hands of Tanix the Scarred, the Speaker dispatched Saint 14 and Osiris to eliminate the deadly Fallen mercenary, but Cade 6 located Tanix and killed him. This elevated Andal Brask to this vacant seat of the Hunter Vanguard, after losing a dare to Cade over who would kill Tanix. However, it was later revealed that the resident Fallen had survived the encounter. The devil Kel Solkis is dead. This war is over. Krask, Kel of Kings, manipulating the other houses, pushed for a united effort against the city. Kings, Devils, and Winter stood together against the city, with the House of Wolves being the only major house unable to join because of the reef stopping them en route. The 3 houses fought against the city and its guardians in what would later be known as the Battle of Twilight Gap, with the Devils leading the charge. The city managed to push back the United Fallen, with Lord Shax leading a counterattack that defeated the houses. At the end of the war, the legendary Titan Saint 14 led a bloody assault to dislodge the remaining Fallen that directly surrounded the city. In what would become forever known as the Crusade of Saint 14, the brave Exo fought against Solkis, Kel of Devils, killing him with a headbutt and bringing the Fallen offensive to its final end. While on a mission, the Hunter Vanguard leader Andal Brask was murdered by the renegade Fallen mercenary Tanix the Scarred. This promoted Cade 6 to assume the role of Hunter Vanguard and attempt to execute Tanix. I am a Lord of Wolves. You are an mighty thing with two dead souls. This is my house. These are my terms. Surrender, and I will only take your ships. The House of Wolves intended to join the Battle of Twilight Gap alongside the other houses, but were stopped at Serres when the Reef intervened. Their Kell was killed in the initial clash, along with a massive portion of the house, which would later be called the Scatter. This started a period of time known as the Reef Wars. During the course of the wars, Skolas, the rabbit, through scavency and cunning, rose to the wolf Kellship. He then turned his full attention towards the reef, and the two forces clashed bitterly for many years. The wars ended when Varix, a member of the House of Judgment who lived among the wolves, betrayed Skolas to the reef, resulting in his capture along with most of his house. Varix went on to crown Queen Mara Sov of the Reef as the new Kell of Wolves, with many wolves bending the knee to her. Hierarchy of the Fallen. In combat, fallen warriors operate in packs, led by captains, and sometimes employ small drones called shanks and large beetle-like tanks known as walkers. Fallen houses are led by Kells, the masters of the massive catches. Shank. Shanks are airborne drones that possess minimal intelligence and attack in large numbers. They serve as cannon fodder. Dreg. Dregs are the lowest ranking fallen in the chain of command. They are thieves driven by desperation and rage. They are crafty, but tend to give away their position with their clattering and hissing. Dregs wield shock daggers and pistols and can be easily distinguished from other fallen ranks by only having 2 fully developed arms as opposed to the usual 4. The other arms are docked and prevented from developing until they have proven themselves worthy to become Vandals. Vandal. The riflemen of the fallen invasion force, Vandals are of a higher rank than Dregs, with weapons capable of long-range attacks and deadlier force. The disadvantage of the Vandal's powerful wire rifle is the requirement of a longer charge time. Captain. Captains are the fiercest of the fallen hierarchy, distinguished by their heavy armor and adorned cape. They often wield twin swords in combat, but can also have an assortment of other weapons. Captains have a sense of nobility about them and consider humanity to be an inferior race. Servitor. Servitors are floating, spherical fallen that have powerful attack capabilities, being able to dish out more damage than the rest of the fallen by launching void projectiles from an eye-like structure on their frames. The fallen Archons worship the servitors, as they are the fallen source of ether. Archon. Archons are high priests of the fallen, serving as intermediaries between the servitors and the Kells of each individual house. Kell. Kells are the leaders of the fallen houses. It was they who declared that all of humanity's territories now belong to the fallen. They are typically the largest fallen. Houses of the fallen. The fallen are organized into distinct houses of nobility, some of which are as hostile to each other as they are to the city, which suggests that there is brutal infighting within the species itself. House of Devils. House of Exile. House of Judgment. House of Kings. House of Rain. House of Scar. House of Stone. House of Winter. House of Wolves. House of Dusk. House of Light. House of Salvation. Houseless.